Have you ever wondered about everything? Have you ever wondered about your place in this world, or rather this universe? Your answer, I'm sure, is yes, but how deep have you really gone? Most of us have had an existential crisis about who we are, about what our career should be. It all comes down to a longing for identity and purpose, really. Us humans, we need a purpose, a graspable, Englishable reason for why we go through the motions of life. It's those days when this reason is hazy and feels not worth the struggle we feel the most lost. In everything, this human struggle is projected onto everything, as though the search for purpose isn't exclusive to humans at all. Now I know what you're thinking. I can already smell the dankalank this developer was smoking when he put this game together. But let's not be too hard on David O'Reilly. The man made a digital journey that captured the attention and wonder of Jacksepticeye, Game Grumps, and PewDiePie alike. Not to mention the countless other YouTubers and gamers I didn't mention. In all this existential whatchamahoozit and tumbly shenanigans, there are lessons to take in. Sometimes these lessons come from rocks, others from trees, and others from whatever happens to be floating around, I suppose. In all the deep monologues thrown at us throughout the game, in all the mind-blowing Alan Watts lectures that tickle our existential fancy, what is the meaning that oozes from every seam of this game, yet is incredibly hard to grasp? What is this mindfucky bizarre game trying to tell us? If only there was a way to uncover the hidden truth behind the story of everything. Well, now, isn't it convenient you're watching the story you never knew? What can I say? I know how to give the people what they came for. So prepare yourself for nature's incredible majesty, and for the dance which all creatures at every level of everything partake in, whether they realize it or not. Prepare yourself for the story you never knew. Let me start off by saying that as a man who spends approximately 3 hours per day lying motionless and taking in Alan Watts lectures and far stranger subjects, this game isn't totally out of left field. It certainly comes out of nowhere in the world of gaming, but in the world of philosophy, totally deep conversation, and anything that aims to figure out how the world works, it's comfortably within the boundaries of ideas that have been talked about before. Albeit with some artistic freedom sprinkled in there, but safe to say everything takes inspiration from places that aren't nearly as bizarre and ungraspable as most who consider themselves more normal than this game would think. With that in mind, it's journey time. Let's do it! New! This game belongs to Grant. Yeah, not sure what I was going for with that one. Anyways, we begin as a speck in a void. A glowy speck. A spark, perhaps. We wonder relevant questions such as, who am I supposed to be? How long has this been going on? When did this start? As the thoughts pile on, something happens. A glowy spectacle of the Big Bang, followed by the passing of the unfathomable length of time between the birth of the universe and the emergence of monkeys that are tripping balls, no less. And okay, astronomers, astrophysicists estimate the universe is 13.7 billion years old, and maybe you don't think that's unfathomable, but go ahead, try and fathom it. Imagine your entire life. Maybe it's give or take 20 years so far. Now imagine the rest of your life, a total of 100 years if you're really lucky. Now multiply that by 10. 1,000 years. A time which will not only see the birth and death of you, but that will see the rise and fall of civilizations. How quaint, because that is nothing. Multiply that by 10. 10,000 years, the time it took humanity to rise from hunting and gathering to building the computer and entering space. Still nothing. Multiply by 100. 1 million years. We were somewhere between human and ape that far back. And even then, a million puts not even a dent in 13.7 billion. Our descension from the treetops and ascension to the stars is but a tiny fraction of the time of the leap that preceded it. The leap from subatomic particles to monkeys, that is. The miracle of life! Really, this transition in the game is the ultimate jump cut. Step up your game, vloggers. You ain't shit compared to David O'Reilly! Anyways, we're a monkey now. Or, more accurately, a chimpanzee. A realization we haven't actually had in the game yet, but I don't want you thinking I'm an idiot for the next 30 seconds now, do I? I need you thinking I'm a smart guy. Gotta keep up that brand. For instance, I'm smart enough to know that yellow thing looks pretty out of place. So why not roll over to investigate, shall we? No prompt, no description. I'll have to contemplate this. Yeah, I'm just kidding, I'm a monkey, what am I gonna come up with? That thing looks like it was made by aliens or something. Definitely beyond my philosophical reach at the moment. So I'll just keep rolling until, aha! I'm a chimpanzee. See what I tell ya. So now I'll just keep on rolling until, some pig's just hanging out. This guy looks to be deep in thought. Maybe I'll sit next to him and have a chat, talk about life. How about it, Mr. Pig? Have you ever thought about life, about how we're all made from the dust of exploding stars and how crazy it all is? Nah, not really. Oh, just looking up, huh? Yep. Okay, well, I'll just roll away and then let Mr. Pig do his thing. Okay, looks like he's beat me to the punch. Don't let me interrupt you guys. I'll see myself out. Surely there are plenty of other creatures with yet more riveting conversation, like this wheat or whatever saying it's okay to feel lost. Thanks, man. Or how about this rock, who turns out has a thing or two to say about, well, I don't want to put words in his mouth. Everything sings. Singing is how all things communicate. Singing helps things find or avoid one another. It deepens bonds between some things and separates others. It's how things announce their existence. Then our good rock goes on to encourage us to sing. And after some brief rolling to find a proper audience, these plants will do perfectly well. Thank you. Even Simon Cowell can't criticize that. Ain't that right, wheat? Or whatever kind of plant you are, I'm not a botanist. I'm a monkey! Chimp. Okay, what's going on here? We've got animals rolling around, rocks dishing out advice, and a variety of other life forms giving their 2 cents on life, I guess. Well, an important thing to know is that as the journey continues onwards, more and more skills are learned, thanks to all kinds of friendly objects and plants and animals and stuff. The next helpful fellow is none other than a tree, who tells us we're the product of trillions of generations of chimpanzees, that all chimpanzees are a reflection of who we were back then, and thus all chimps are inseparable, or at least it may seem that way, that where we start and end is up to us. Such a mind-blowing lecture naturally gives rise to a new ability: joining. Simply press V repeatedly to join and bam! You can inspire other life forms of your species to join your mission towards everything, I suppose. Notice how the tree says all chimps are a reflection of us, from how we were back then. Back then. Back when exactly, my good tree? Back then. You'll notice in the words of the tree that it mentions trillions of generations of chimpanzees. That means all chimpanzees are a fragment of who we were at the beginning of those trillions of generations. Chimpanzees, of course, haven't been around that long. And if you'll kindly remember the 13.7 billion year explanation from earlier, you may realize trillions of generations would be a reasonable amount of time for the passing of, say, the birth of the universe until now. A trillion's a big number, people. Indeed, this current form of ours, the chimpanzee, is an expression of the glowing speck asking big questions all those eons ago. A mind-blowing revelation we've now grasped, thanks to the join skill and the existential tutorial which came along with it. Each new skill is paired with realizations like this, especially if you know how to read between the lines. The next skill we learn, interestingly enough, is the opposite of what we just learned. Release. The ability to let go of some who have joined you until now. Simply hold C to do so. Easy as that. The kind and wise Bush who teaches us how to release makes clear there is no wrong path, and that as we explore, parts of us may need to go their own direction. Because we can't control everything at once. ... At least not yet. Oh, you're quite the tease, Bush. Never has a flock of rolling chimpanzees been more intrigued. Is it really possible for us to control everything at once? By our guardian Bush's recommendation, it's time to get rid of some fam so we can learn to become everything. Re-become everything? I'm just gonna hold C for now. And what do you know? It works! But I'm not ready to get rid of these guys just yet. Time to reaccumulate and roll ever onwards. Towards infinity. Towards the transcendental object. The Golden Gate. Sing, my chimps! Sing! Sing until... Well, nothing's happening. Let's move on to this rock guy over here. Our geological compadre asks us what we make of all the little things around here. What do we make of all the plants and little creatures? Are they here for us, or are we here for them? Slow down, Mr. Rock. Or just keep it going, it's fine. Our helpful stone goes on to explain we can't know, or rather can't understand, the idea of who is there for who because we're limited to the chimpanzee's perspective. Is the environment there for us, or are we there for the environment? We can't understand our relationship to everything because we are only a part of it. One perspective, unable to step back and understand the whole. And so the rock teaches us to descend, to transfer our consciousness into objects and creatures and plants that are smaller than us. Most might consider these smaller things less important. What is a blade of grass compared to a human after all? Or, in this case, a group of chimps? Only one way to find out. Whoa, I'm grass now. We are grass now. Seems to be a slower existence. And let's not forget we can become other things. Now we're a leaf. And after singing a little bit, we realize we're a birch leaf. Cool. Then we can become mushrooms. Ooh, Amanita muscaria. Just the kind of stuff Mario likes to ingest from time to time. Really, it's clear we can become whatever we want to become, and do as we please with whatever perspective we happen to have at the time. We can become earthworms, pebbles, and once we've seen enough to understand at least a little bit of what it's like to be this small, we come across our old friend through time and form. You know, this voice that clearly is also putting itself into different perspectives, just like we do, but is also explaining how all this works. Sometimes the voice is a tree, sometimes it's a rock, and sometimes it's a plant. This time it certainly is. This time our paths cross, this voice teaches us to ascend, to go into bigger objects and creatures and plants. It's time to see things from the other way around. And so we ascend to become a pine cone, ascending towards the gods. One step at a time. We transfer our consciousness to ever higher forms of creation, ultimately becoming a maple forest that learns to dance from a friendly plant. The plant says dancing is a very beautiful thing to do. It's a way of moving in a pattern towards nowhere in particular. To dance is to make yourself the destination and enjoy never quite arriving. It takes at least 2 to dance, but the more the merrier. So all we need to do is join with more than 2 species at once and hold down 8. When we do that, whoa, our dance produces baby trees, and that's pretty scandalous. But it gets even crazier than that. If we spend more time bonding with other creatures of the natural world, we'll notice we can bond and dance in ways we never could before. We become aware much faster. We bond much more easily, and our dance changes ever so slightly with each new addition to the self. Bonding with things on lower scales, with things that are smaller than us, has helped us more easily join and understand other life forms at larger sizes. Indeed, how can we know the forest if we don't know what's beneath the canopy? There's more to it than just the trees themselves, much more. As we dance and join with ever more creatures, it's as though we become one organism, not simply a group of them. Each piece of us acts in reaction to the other hundreds of pieces to produce an unpredictable yet organized interaction we call a dance. Or maybe it's cycles of life, death, and rebirth that play out as our interconnected forest shimmies its way towards nowhere in particular. It's here where everything makes sense. I could watch a forest dance forever, at least for a while. It's a pretty sight to behold. It's beautiful. But are things always like this? Many of those we talk to are confused. They're lost or uncertain about their place in nature. Even the plants have their doubts, apparently. To explore the darker side of things, let's return to the most mysterious thing we've encountered thus far, the Golden Gate. An alien, intricate object that looks to have come from a place much stranger than this. It's here we can stare doubt in the face. As though as an omen, a wheat says to us, keep your darkness to yourself, your family and closest friends and acquaintances, and everyone you meet. Thanks. You're welcome. And so we move on, and then descend. What is this place? And what am I? I guess I'll sing to... Oh god, what a terrible noise! With an equally terrible name. A0A0A0A0A, what's your deal? And may I say, I am not the biggest fan of the vibe of this place. Everything we talk to is miserable. It's like we're in hell. It's surreal in a hideous way. Bonding with objects here feels almost pointless because everything is so full of regret, despair, and insanity that any dancing we do just looks like an awkward forced smashing together of junk. Junk that doesn't want to be here, yet may be here forever. In this void, negative thoughts are in everything we meet. There are so many ideas from the outside world that have been twisted and gotten trapped here. Each terrible, loathing thought justifies the next. This is an endless expanse of self-justifying misery. In order to ascend out of this hell, we would have to bond with larger and larger groups of ever-varying objects and have them dance in ways which make them feel alive. But no one wants to dance. The creatures here only want to wallow, and so they'll do just that, forever. Back in real life, we could bond with so much so easily and produce an experience worth living for because we could connect with a tiny pebble, a towering spruce, and everything in between. By doing this, we controlled the world in ways we never could alone. We did not simply observe the forest as an individual concerned with only our own problems and thoughts. We threw off those distractions of the mind to bond with everything in our path, and it made something incredible. But this place. In this meaningless void, everything swirls around in its own thoughts, concerned with only itself and its problems. There is only chaos here. We'll never be able to ascend, so we must go further inward, down to the smallest we can go. It's not until we become the unknown planet and descend into it that we can bond with tinier things in this place. As we continue further down in size, we can bond with yet more things until we find the help we're really looking for. That guiding voice through time and form. This time, it's a PC that tells us how everything here is frustrated. They all want to go back to the world that created them, but here they are, trapped in the world they created instead. This appears to be the one place we can't think ourselves out of. The PC goes on to say that all these thoughts, as terrible and convincing as they are simply not worth holding on to. With all the negativity in this place, we must clear our mind. So we clear our mind, and by doing that, we can finally ascend to the point of breaking free from this prison. I still feel tainted though. You don't almost get trapped in hell for eternity and come out the other side the same. That place was miserable, and we bonded with so many parts of it. Who are we after that? To answer that, we get a shot of the Golden Gate with our spark of life flying out of it. The glowy speck, that spark of life, flies over everything, soaring over nature, cities, and finally into the sky, out to the far reaches of space, and then all the way back down to the planet we started on, and back into the mind of the animal we started as. Tutorial complete. What, that was just the tutorial? This guy! The plus side is now we bond instantly when entering new things. We're also able to ascend to new heights, to the size of continents, and ultimately to galaxies. We can even go down to the smallest size, to the level where atoms seem huge and points of light can be seen with the naked eye. Now we really can bond with everything, from something as unimaginably small as a photon to something as unimaginably large as a galactic cluster. We have the potential to become one with all of it. Pretty zen, huh? But again, we go back to, what's all this supposed to mean? What's the deal, David O'Reilly? Well, I'm not one to put words in someone's mouth, but I think I've finally got an answer to that question. It goes back to before the Golden Gate, to when we were a forest and everything beneath the canopy. In the midst of our forest dance, we find a message from Alan Watts about, well, I'll just let him explain.
Your skin doesn't separate you from the world, it's a bridge through which the external world flows into you, and you flow into it. Just, for example, as a whirlpool in water, you could say because you have a skin, you have a definite shape, you have a definite form. The whirlpool is a definite form, but no water stays put in it. The whirlpool is something the stream is doing. And exactly the same way, the whole universe is doing each one of us. And I see you today, and I recognize you tomorrow, just as I would recognize a whirlpool in a stream. I'd say, oh yes, I've seen that whirlpool before. It's just near so-and-so's house on the edge of the river. And it's always there. So in the same way, when I meet you tomorrow, I recognize you. You're the same whirlpool you were yesterday. But you're moving. The whole world is moving through you. All the cosmic rays, all the food you're eating, the stream of steaks and milk and eggs and everything is just flowing right through you. When you're wiggling the same way, the world is wiggling, the stream is wiggling you.
Whoa man, no one can quite put it like Alan Watts. The takeaway from this tape is that every creature, including ourselves, is like a whirlpool in a river. We are obviously there, plain to see, but like a whirlpool, we are made up of the water in the stream. We are inseparable from the stream because we are made from it. Its actions influence our actions, and we are only the way we are because the stream is the way it is. There's so many other incredible clips from Watts too. Most of them have a very similar message, the message that you are not what you seem. You, the person who has hopes and dreams and opinions and is uniquely your own, that person is not who they appear to be. It's games like Everything and minds like Alan Watts that are able to articulate the concept so perfectly. You don't exist like you think you do, and you never did. We don't even have to get existential about it. Let's take the well-known and widely accepted idea that you are the average of your closest friends. Or in other words, that your personality is greatly influenced by the people you keep in your life. While just how much your friends and family influence you is nearly impossible to measure concretely, just read any entrepreneur article, advice column from a successful person, or even if you just look at your own life critically, you'll realize that what you do and even what you're capable of doing is very much influenced by the company you keep. Your conversations with people, your interactions with them, they change you. When you join a group of friends, you'll never dance the same than if you joined another, and you'll certainly dance differently than if you'd never joined with anyone at all. Your behavior is not just your own, and it goes even deeper. As Alan Watts said, all of the steaks we eat and the milk we drink is constantly flowing through us. He put it a little better than that, but the point is that even the food you eat affects who you are. Eat a basket of French fries and a Cinnabon for breakfast, and your energy levels and therefore your outlook on things will be different than if you'd eaten some yogurt or anything but French fries and a Cinnabon for breakfast. You'd feel that much lighter and sharper because food, be it terrible or healthy, becomes you. In this way, you are everything. A system within a system within a system, doing its best to carve out a unique identity despite taking every bit of inspiration and matter from a world that feels separate from you. That's you. A system of organs and cells and neurotransmitters and hormones and proteins and amino acids and atoms that is itself a smaller part of a larger system. You feed into it, and it feeds into you. You are the company you keep, the things you choose to bond with, the food you eat, the air you breathe, the city you live in, the places you choose to visit. This is the message of everything. That you, while certainly there, are hardly you at all. You are a spark of life which organizes all of this not you into something novel, into something that's you. And that's the story. You never knew. And that's my take on everything. I sure hope all that abstract whatchamahoozit made sense. If it did, let me know. If it didn't, you should tell me that too. I really do love this game. Everything is so wonderfully bizarre, yet it all kinda makes sense. Anywho, who's ready for an announcement? Clearly the answer is all of you. So to those who are interested in meeting me and the other Treesicle dudes in person, we're going to be at Too Many Games in Philadelphia from June 23rd to the 25th. Go ahead and DM us on Twitter. We'll even be hosting 2 panels along with our friends and YouTube cousins, Noggin and Swankybox. If you've ever wondered how to start a gaming channel without doing Let's Plays, we'll be giving a live, in-person tutorial on how to do just that. So if you live in the area, come see us at Too Many Games in Philadelphia, June 23rd through the 25th. It's gonna be dope. And with that, I'll see myself out. Toodaloo!